All right, y'all. So we got another market review on the way, underway, I should say. So I did take longs today. I'm gonna explain like my thought process behind that, and we're gonna start off on the daily. So last week we took out these lows here and we traded into this fair value gap, and that prompted me to believe we'll see some type of retracement and at least a 50% retracement. So we didn't get exactly 50% yet, but as you can see, we tapped into this fair value gap. This is daily fair value gap here. We tapped into it one time. I did reach for that target. I reached for intermediate target. So this minor sell side, you could call it, I guess. I feel like this is in like internal liquidity. So this was all that I was reaching for. And I got into my trade around London session and I held until 7:30. So at this 7:30 candle, this was where my TP was hit. And you can see that we did go higher. But all throughout Asian session, we respected this new week opening gap. We were trading above the new week opening gap. When I woke up in the morning, this 4 hour candle had not developed yet. We're still trading this 4 hour candle. What I wanted to see, since this 4 hour candle wick made the high at the time for the day, I wanted to see if we could trade at least 50% above it. I ended up, I'll delete this. I ended up marking this 4 hour gap later on afterwards, but I really wanted to see this wick, like another confluence. So these two things here, confluence. As you can see, we did get another tap into it. We have one more tap into it. So using long wicks, they're see they're seen as fair value gaps also. And you can see how price just tapped into it one more well, two more times at 10 o'clock candle and one more time at 11. But I seen that going in and I wanted to see a closure above it. So we had this closure and then we had one more retest at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. hour candle. So this is where I enter my trade. I entered my initial trade at this fair value gap. So this was London's open low. So I came here, opened my first position. I got into my first entry here and I rode it out until 7:30. And I think this was just a real simple trade, a real simple setup. Nothing too complicated and real straightforward, honestly. If if price had not respected this 50% or this 4 hour fair value gap, then of course, then price probably would have reached into, these intermediate lows or even back into the fair value gap. But it held up these levels and I really like going into this 5 a.m. candle. So we formed another fair value gap. We formed a 1 hour fair value gap and we respected it. So a lot of confluences. You want to use all of these different things. You don't need all of these different things, but they can be useful to you know, just to clear that up so it doesn't look so sloppy. And then we had this final tap into this 1 hour fair value gap. Like I said, you don't need all of these different things, but you can use them as confluences. So you could have just used this 1 hour fair value gap if you were up at this time, or you could have just used the midpoint for this 4 hour fair value gap as an inverted. So there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, something like to say. So my regular trading hours, well, usually when I try to fish for setup 7 a.m., I was already in the trade by then and I didn't have to re-enter. So 9:30 came, we traded higher, tapped into the fair value gap, but I really want to see us take out this previous daily's high. I want us to see us take that either sometime today. We still have afternoon session, and even tomorrow. So that would be a Tuesday. And as long as we don't have any daily closures, I wouldn't want to see any daily closures above here. Any daily closures would then, I would then probably look for longs to the upside. But as long as we stay below, I'm looking for weakness in NQ. So with that being said, and also I toggled here, the settlement hours. If you didn't have that set, you wouldn't have seen the small imbalance. So that's why my fair value gap is there. That's why my fair value gap is where it is because of this volume imbalance. I include the volume imbalance, and as you can see, this volume imbalance, once it hit that volume imbalance, we turned around. Now we're about to trade back up into it, but it's very mindful to keep track of, the little details, because sometimes people are wondering what's going on, and you really just got to pay attention to the levels and define details of the levels of potential reversal areas. So we had a nice run. We didn't really get any type of retracement at 7. So 7 didn't really give any retracement. Then we cleared those lows and we went back to London's lows. So we cleared London's low one more time, and now we start trading higher. You could have potentially taken a scalp targeting this 4 hour gap. Something real simple. This was the first presented fair value gap. As you can see, we didn't test it on this run up. We started trading below it, and we had 2 retests of it. And a lot of times, certain levels you could reuse and drag them out. And you'll see you'll be able to utilize them probably for multiple days. I try not to use like lower time frame levels more than maybe 2 days. Honestly, once I'll be done with this fair value gap after today, and then I'll just use the levels that's being formed. But let me show y'all the execution, and then we'll be done for the day. So, like I said, I bought this fair value gap. I bought at this fair value gap, this 5-minute fair value gap. I'll just highlight it for all intents and purposes. And we never got a closure below. So pretty simple day. This was a nice smooth run. But that'll be all for this video. And until next time.